Let's roll. This is SportsRage. I am Gabriel Morency. The pimps, the players, the hustlers, the people, the busters, and everybody else in between. The Friday Night Freak Show has begun. Let's do this thing. We got a full house on the show this evening. Steve Merrill steps up, and then the Rager Redhead Cam Stewart kicks it with us. We've got Tony Finn, straight from the strip in Las Vegas, Nevada. George Kurtz kicks it with us from Long Island. Rob Vino from the PA, Philadelphia, stepping up and in this evening. The Philadelphia 76ers and the Cleveland Cavaliers are coming to an end. There's 21 seconds remaining in the game. Sixers are up 102-97. The game of the night tonight is the Milwaukee Bucks and the Minnesota Timberwolves. A late start in Minnesota tonight. Coming up in about 10 minutes time after this game, the doubleheader tonight on ESPN. The Minnesota Timberwolves are laying 4.5 points against the visiting Bucks. The total is 225.5 right now. It's come down, actually. I saw it at 227 earlier, about an hour ago, if not 45 minutes ago or so. I know Minnesota are very good defensively. I get it. Milwaukee are not good defensively. I think this total is too light. I'm not hot this week at all. I'm not really cold. I'm sort of like in between. You know what I'm saying? We win, we lose, we lose, we win, we lose, we lose, we win. But we're not, I talked about it last night. I'm still not in that pocket. Still not in the zone, baby. So take it for whatever it's worth. But when I look at this game, I think the total is too light at 225.5. And I'm going to take the Milwaukee Bucks. Minnesota, things have been going good for Minnesota. Things, obviously, since Doc Rivers took over with Milwaukee, things aren't going so well for them. They're 3-7, right? They've got to start winning basketball games, and I don't blame Doc Rivers. It's on the players. Shout out to everybody joining us on SiriusXM Channel 159. This is Sports Rage. So we're going to take the Milwaukee Bucks plus 4.5. Total is 225.5 in this game. We're going to take the over. The Spurs and the Lakers is kind of a train wreck as far as who's playing, who isn't playing. We'll get you the starting lineups, or at least as much as we can tonight. It's one of these nights tonight. Pretty much every night's like this in the NBA, though. Right, but here we are, like we're minutes before. Sportsbooks didn't have player props up. The Nuggets are starting Jackson, Caldwell Pope, Porter Jr., Gordon, and Jokic on Friday. Jokic really doesn't do the load management. The Hornets tonight are playing the Warriors. The Hornets have won 4 straight games. This is the best basketball that they've been playing. The Warriors are playing good basketball. You know what? I think, and, follow if you want, or fade. It's up to you. I won't hold it against you. I won't take it personal. I'm going to take the Charlotte Hornets in the first half of this game. I kind of think, I kind of want to take them in the game, but I don't really fully trust them, even though they're on a 4-game win streak right now. If anything, I think they can hang around at least in the first half. We're getting a touchdown and an extra point here. We're getting 7 points with the Hornets. So we're going to jump in. Hornets first half plus 7. Hornets first half plus 7. Whatever. It's 4.5. I might as well just make this 5 with Milwaukee, although here it is right here. No, so we're going to go 4.5 here, Milwaukee, plus 4.5. And let's go with the over in the, this number is really bouncing around all over the place here. Let's go with the over in Milwaukee and Minnesota. Here it is, 225.5. Strange. They have like multiple numbers up. I'm looking at like one book. It's like 227. They have another one, 225.5. It's different juice, but 225.5 minus 110. All right, let's go over this number. So we're going over Milwaukee and Minnesota. We're ready to rock. Tyrese Maxey finishes with 24 points tonight for you prop players out there this evening. It's his 41st 20-point game this year for Maxey. Maxey is a baller. I'm not a big Philadelphia 76er fan. I liked Dr. J when I was a kid, but I am a fan of Maxey. Maxey's a baller. Very good young player that could put up, like I said, like we've talked about this for a couple of years, like he could put up big numbers, but if Embiid wasn't the one putting up numbers. So we pulled the trigger. We got NBA basketball college basketball, we got lit up tonight. I went to the Ivy League, and the same thing happened to me if I was like trying to go to an Ivy League. I got rejected at the rack tonight. We're going to focus in on the NBA this evening as far as the in-game action is concerned. College basketball, we've got some cool games tomorrow that we're going to get into. Steve Merrill is going to be the first guest up tonight. And we've got Nevada and San Jose State. They just started, like literally and figuratively, like right now. They just started this basketball game. The Wolfpack are laying 10.5. The total is 142.5. We'll get Merrill's thoughts on this game. San Jose State are terrible, but do you want to lay 10.5 points on the road with the Wolfpack? But we got big-time college basketball games on the board on Saturday. We've got a big weekend of fights as well. UFC's in Mexico. And Bellator and PFL are in Saudi Arabia, and I am intrigued by the PFL versus Bellator. It's a cool card, it's a cool concept, and Francis Ngannou is going to be taking on the winner of the main event. So we'll share our best bets. We'll get into that. We'll get you caught up to date what's going on in the National Football League as far as the updated odds and the rumors, as far as where players are going to end up. NHL hockey. Winnipeg Jets and the Blackhawks are in action tonight. I don't have any puck plays. The only hockey I played tonight, I actually won, and it's a miracle. I won in a shootout tonight in the PWHL. Toronto won tonight. Toronto beat New York tonight. We talked about it last night, actually. I said Toronto were a team to keep your eye on. This team is starting to, this is one of the better teams in the league. And Toronto gets it done tonight in a shootout, but tonight is one of those parlay buster nights tonight in the National Hockey League. And, everybody's on the Winnipeg Jets. Now, they're probably going to win. It was 2-0. Now it's 2-1. We're late in the second period of play. Similar situation with the Edmonton Oilers and the Minnesota Wild, right? Everyone's pulling the trigger. Everyone's going to pull the trigger on the Edmonton Oilers in this game, but they're trailing 1-0 right now. The total is 5.5. And it really doesn't make a lot of sense to take under 5.5 in an Oilers and a Minnesota Wild game. But here we are right now. You know what? I get the feeling this game is going to stay under the 5.5 in-game total right now. There's 17 minutes left in the second period of play, so let's pull the trigger on under 5.5 in Minnesota. Hockey's wild, man. Minnesota played a game with 17 goals earlier in the week, and now we're taking the under in their game. But we're going to do it under 5.5, Minnesota and Edmonton. All right, we'll get into some college basketball on the other side. The Ranger Redhead Cam Stewart's going to step up and in. Steve Merrill in the house tonight. George Kurtz. We've got a playoff bracket in National Hockey League. We'll take a look if the playoffs started today, what it would look like. As the late night anchor management class is now in session, bring it. Like the Minnesota Wild were down by 2 goals today. They were down by 3 goals, actually, today at one point. And they came back and won. Like teams like, the Edmonton Oilers and the Coyote game went back and forth. The NHL really, you could argue, really is the best sport for in-game betting where you can pull the trigger on both teams.
SportsRage Late Night, only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
The first unanimous number 1 team this season in the AP poll, which is the kiss of death. True. Right now, given what we've seen winning on the road in college basketball, it's a kiss of death to walk in there as a unanimous number 1 team in the country. Everyone says you're awesome. Everyone's telling you how great you are. And you go up against a coach, who has your number for the most part.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
Guess what? Rock fight alert. Rock fight alert. Look at this Missouri-Tennessee score at the under 16. 1-0 Missouri. What is that?
watched the entire Penguin game on Sunday. Been watching a lot of their games. I feel like we're seeing the end of the Empire. There's talk of them maybe trading some big names.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
I think you try to trade Mikal Bridges. I think he's someone that is a 3-and-D guy who can score, and his game is elevated since leaving Phoenix, even though his game has maybe regressed a little bit from last year. At the number 2 option, Mikal Bridges can fetch you, I would say, at least 3 first-round draft picks. If you're not going to contend with Mikal Bridges, do him right, trade him, do a full rebuild.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell Coast to Coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live. Prime time.
We got not 1, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
SportsRage late
sort
night.
of has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Let's roll. The Friday Night Freak Show has begun. We got a full house on the program tonight. Big-time NBA basketball game coming up here with the Milwaukee Bucks and the Minnesota Timberwolves. The T-Wolves are starting to get a lot of attention right now. And now that we're out of the All-Star break and they have the best record and, Minnesota this, Anthony Edwards getting a lot of hype as far as being the future face of the NBA. I like this roster. We talked about it. They actually competed with Denver pretty competitively last year. Even though they lost in 5 games, they gave Denver all that they can handle in a couple of those games. They went to overtime once. So I'm not surprised that Minnesota are a good team, but I have a hard time buying in that they're going to do damage in the postseason with Karl Anthony Towns, with Anthony Edwards, and with Rudy Gobert. And you get a Milwaukee Buck team who's 3-7 since Doc Rivers has taken over. He took over a 30-13 team. And Doc Rivers himself actually said when the Milwaukee Bucks called him, he told them, I don't know why you're doing this. Like point blank. He goes, I don't know why you're replacing the coach. You guys are 30-13, and I don't know why you're calling me to take over. But he didn't say no. And here they are right now. They're 3-7. Don't forget, they moved on from Budenholzer after they won a championship because they didn't think he was a great coach. Let's just call it out for what it is. The players are running that team. Giannis is running this team right now, and he's running these coaches out, and he doesn't get called out for it the same way that other stars do, but that's exactly what's going on. Giannis didn't like Griffin because Griffin just didn't kiss everyone's ass like everybody else would. So here we are right now, but this is a big game for Milwaukee. Let's bring in Steve Merrill and Cam Stewart right now. Steve, good to see you. What do you think about this game with the Milwaukee Bucks getting 4.5 points in Minnesota tonight?
Yeah, I did a standalone video earlier today for this spotlight game on Wager Talk TV, and it's hard not to like Minnesota. They've been maybe one of the best teams in the NBA all year. They've been the best defensive team in the league this year. And they just beat Milwaukee a month ago, but Lillard didn't play. Damian Lillard is expected back, for the foreseeable future now. He looks like he's healthy. That's going to be the catalyst that gets the Bucks going because, like you said, just 3-7 with the coaching change. So I'm staying off the side, but I do like the under in this game, and that's what I gave out free in that video. Minnesota, the best defensive team in the league. Gobert is like minus 700 to be Defensive Player of the Year right now after the All-Star break. And I think this will have a playoff atmosphere. So instead of trying to guess if Milwaukee gets it going tonight or not, I think the under is worth a look. Great defensive team in a playoff atmosphere.
Cam, what do you want in this game? Who do you have?
I like Minnesota in this game. I'd be like Steve. I would lean to the under in this spot. I think they can shut them down. Gabe, it's hard to lay 4.5 with the Timberwolves, but I'm going to do it. I think they're at home and they can win this game by like 6 to 8. It'll be right around the number. Minnesota in the under.
All right, I'm going contrarian here. I already gave it. I already bet it. As Steve stated, too, they have a great defense. So we're giving up 106.7 points per game, but I'm taking the Bucks. I think it will be a close game. I'm taking the Bucks in what really is sort of a gut check time for this team. And I want to see how Minnesota handles this pressure. Primetime television, they move the game back, doubleheader and all this. Look, everyone's standing. I mean, I can't remember the T-Wolves being on national television in a long time in a regular season. So we'll see if they handle this hype tonight. Should be a fun game. Interesting, Steve, with the total, too. It's, I see it's 227.5 right now at close, but it was 225.5 as well. So I've seen a couple of different numbers for this game. I pulled the trigger on the Charlotte Hornets +7 in the first half, Steve. They're playing their best basketball of the season right now. They're on a 4-game win streak. I wanted to take them plus the points in the game, but I just couldn't do it because Golden State are playing, pretty good ball as well right now. But I think Charlotte hangs around in the first half in this game. Any opinion on that one?
Yeah, I did a video for this one too, Gabe, and I actually like Charlotte plus the 12.5. Two of the hottest teams in the league. Golden State's now 7-1 straight up in ATS their last 8.
It really is, Gabe. You hear what they did? Don't take a look, Steve.
4 straight wins dogs. As an underdog. 4
That's
straight dog
5.5 point dogs, 9-point win. 7-point dog, 9 point. Gabe, they beat Atlanta by 23, 7.5, and then Utah, they were 9.5, and they won that game. So not just like covering numbers, winning outright as big dogs. I had to be on Charlotte too. We're all reading each other's mail. Give me the.
And Cam, how about this? Laker win last night, and they got the Nuggets at home Sunday. You talk about a sandwich situation. That's another reason it's hard to see them winning by margin in this one.
For an older team. Listen, the wheels could fall off. They will eventually for Charlotte. I just took a plus the 7 in the first half. Pretty crazy.
Gabe, real quick on that game. It's Curry versus Curry. The 14th time in the regular season, Seth Curry will be on Steph Curry. He's outscored him 26-10 on average, but his over-under is 28.5 tonight. Played last night, had a monster game. I think Steph and Curry under 28.5 actually might be worth a look as well.
I would agree with that. If there's anyone that would sort of know how to guard him and sort of
he's been held to 26 on average against them.
It's his brother. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he knows you.
Kurt, listen, like you said, Golden State are rolling right now too, but coming off the big win, hard to get up for Charlotte rolling into town here. Another big game coming up on Sunday on television. So I understand the angle there. The Grizzlies have played themselves back into this game with the Clippers. They're only down by 3 right now with a minute left. Down by 2, 96-94. The Blazers and Nuggets, Steve, I did not bet on. The Blazers have actually covered and won a couple of times in this spot when getting 8-9 points at home. Teams really do get flat when they roll into Denver, when you roll into Portland. But Denver don't really do the load management. Like I went over the lineup earlier. Jokic is playing there. That's what makes them so good. They're so consistent, Denver. But I thought it was too many points to lay, but I passed on the game.
Yeah, and keep in mind, they played a back-to-back on February 2nd and 4th in Denver a few weeks ago, and the Nuggets won both games but failed to cover both games, winning by 12 and 9 as 12.5 and 14.5 point favorites. And I actually watched a lot of that second game. It was the Sunday before the Super Bowl. It was one of the few sporting events on that night. And the Nuggets were actually trailing, I believe, in the second half of that game before winning by 9 or by 11, actually, in that game. So, yeah, they, for some reason, haven't really blown out Portland. They just blew out the Wizards last night after losing 3 straight to finish the first half. And with Golden State on deck, like we've talked about, it's kind of hard to see Denver needing to blow them out again tonight.
So I know that you did do a video. I just saw it on Twitter about the Nevada and San Jose State game. So we're off and running. There's 12:47 left in the first half right now. It's 14-11 for Nevada. What was your final opinion on this game, Steve?
Yeah, it wasn't an official play, but it was a lean on San Jose plus 10. It actually closed 10.5. There's sharp money was actually on Nevada. And look, San Jose's been awful. They're 1-9 straight up ATS their last 10. And as you know, Gabe, I don't like to catch a falling knife. They are a falling knife plus. But I just didn't think it was a great spot for Nevada. Nevada just beat them by 30 earlier this season. They have Colorado State on deck. Just one of those situations where I thought maybe the line had been adjusted too high, and San Jose State can stay within that big number.
I'm glad you admitted it, Steve. I'm on the Spartans as well, Gabe, plus 11, but I didn't want to tell you.
Well, no, that's a home dog.
Secret.
Yeah, it's a lot of points.
The way I see it is Nevada won their last game big. This is like a spot there. Oh, San Jose, the Spartans stink. They do, but we're getting 10.5, 11 at home. I'm going to take my chances tonight. Didn't work with Wyoming the other time, but I feel good about it.
And Cam, you know something else, Gabe, I pointed out in this game when I did the video was that, yes, San Jose's lost 9 of their last 10, but they played at Boise, just got blown out. They got blown out at Nevada. They were at Utah State. I think at Colorado State. I mean, it's like all the
good teams they're losing to.
Yeah.
And on the road and the altitude also. And Nevada's not as good on the road for that reason. They get those, inflated home numbers with the thin air and altitude. So, yeah, I mean, look, you know me. I don't like to try to catch those falling knives, but if there was a spot to do so, maybe San Jose State tonight.
Love catching falling
You mentioned knives. Colorado State. They play UNLV tomorrow. What do you think of that, Steve? We got like 10, 20 seconds here before the break. UNLV are a tough team to get a read on.
Yeah, and they just played a real slow team, so it could be a tough matchup for UNLV now after that slow-down, ugly Air Force game.
And don't forget, last Saturday night, they lost to Nevada when they had like a 10-point lead with 6 minutes left. I was at a hockey game. I looked down. I was like, yeah, I'm on UNLV. I walk out. I lost.
Exactly.
Like the Minnesota Wild were down by 2 goals today. They were down by 3 goals, actually, today at one point. And they came back and won. Like teams like, the Edmonton Oilers and the Coyote game went back and forth. The NHL really, you could argue, really is the best sport for in-game betting where you can pull the trigger on both teams.
SportsRage Late Night, only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
The first unanimous number 1 team this season in the AP poll, which is the kiss of death. True. Right now, given what we've seen, winning on the road in college basketball, it's a kiss of death to walk in there as a unanimous number 1 team in the country. Everyone says you're awesome. Everyone's telling you how great you are. And you go up against a coach, who has your number for the most part.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
Guess what? Rock fight alert. Rock fight alert. Look at this Missouri-Tennessee score at the under 16. 1-0 Missouri. What is that?
Watched the entire Penguin game on Sunday. Been watching a lot of their games. I feel like we're seeing the end of the empire. There's talk of them maybe trading some big names.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
I think you try to trade Mikal Bridges. I think he's someone that is a 3-and-D guy, can score, and his game is elevated since leaving Phoenix, even though his game has maybe regressed a little bit from last year. As the number 2 option, Mikal Bridges can fetch you, I would say, at least 3 first-round draft picks. If you're not going to contend with Mikal Bridges, do him right, trade him, do a full rebuild.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not 1, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
SportsRage Late
Sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
This is Sports Rage. I am Morency. Let's do this thing. Steve Merrill kicking with us, the Rage Redhead Cam Stewart in the house. Light night of college basketball tonight. It was like a Horizon night, an Ivy League night tonight. But we've got some big-time games tomorrow starting at 9 a.m. Pacific time, noon Eastern. Houston and Baylor on the board. Baylor getting 2.5 points in this game, Steve. What's your take on this one in Waco, Texas?
Yeah, this is literally a first look for all the viewers here on SportsGrid because I'm going to do my top 25 video right after the show tonight, which will be on Wager Talk TV Saturday morning. And this obviously is as big as any game this week. You know, there's only 2 top 25 matchups.
So you're working out your material first here with me.
Yeah, that's what you did. That's right. You're the opening act, Morency, before Steve goes on for that.
That is a little bit true. I will admit that the video will be better because I'll work the kinks out now, and I'll probably
No, I'm kidding. It's all good.
Gabe, you gave me a great one a few weeks ago, though, when it was like the first time in history we had 5 top 10 matchups on that Saturday and Sunday. I did reference you when you said that. But there's only 2 games tomorrow that are top 25, so I'm going to use the UVA number 26 ranked Cavaliers against UNC game as well, which is a good one to talk about. But I lean Baylor in this game. They're currently about a 2.5 point home dog. Houston maybe is the best team in the country. I believe they're still number 1 in the Ken Palms last I checked. But Baylor, I think, knows how to match up with them. And Houston is number 1 defense, but only number 16 on offense in the Ken Palms. Baylor, meanwhile, 4th on offense, but they're 90th on defense. That's going to be the problem here, and they're going to have to play some good D. But I think Houston at times can be a little inconsistent on the road. We saw them lose at Kansas, and I like Baylor. They are the epitome of a live home dog, in my opinion, on this game tomorrow afternoon.
Coming off a 78-71 loss at BYU. They were in the game. It kind of fell apart late. And Houston played Iowa State earlier in the week on national television. Cam, what's your pick if you have one for Baylor and Houston?
I'm with Steve. Until Houston can prove they can dominate on the road, I think the Baylor Bears are the play. It's going to be interesting. If Houston wins that game, that'll be big for them. But different team at home and away, Gabe. We saw what they did to Texas at home, and then they got murdered at Kansas. So they're kind of one of those teams. I'll take my shot with Baylor at home getting 2.5.
Last night, we cashed the ticket with the Washington State Cougars getting 12.5 against Arizona, but I didn't think they were going to win the game outright again. So they actually swept them this year. They beat them both times. Now the other Washington team rolls in, the Washington Huskies. What do you make of this? Like, there's 2 ways. Like, you can say, well, you don't really want to lay this amount of points, but Washington aren't as good as Washington State are, and somebody's going to be like the wrong opponent at the wrong time, man. Facing Arizona, they're going to take their frustrations out. I took Wazoo last night. I'm not ready to run here and click on the Huskies. What's your opinion?
Well, the early money agrees with you because this opened as low as 13.5 this afternoon. It's now 15. I even see some 15.5 starting out there. So Arizona's going higher. And the one thing about Washington is they just had a tough game against Arizona State last night that went down to the wire, having to travel just one day now. And both teams like up-tempo. Arizona plays extremely fast. Arizona State also plays up-tempo, and they just lost by 45 points last Saturday. Washington better be careful because that up-tempo style doesn't work when your opponent does it better.
Yeah, I agree with Steve here. I think, Cam, I know you were on the Cougs last night and the underdog, but I think this is the one where Arizona win by like 22 or something like that.
I'm very hesitant, Gabe. And Washington State's just one of those teams, it seems like, you know, they're just rolling and you don't think about it. Kind of like Minnesota ATS. But then you're right. You're like, wow, what's going to happen? Are they going to run into an angry team? And let's give Arizona State some credit. We talked about this game live, Gabe. They were down close to, I think, 29 points to Washington. That game went to overtime. Like, they turned a switch on, and that game got crazy. We thought it was over. So Wazoo better bring their A game. And the fact, if they were favored by like 1.5 or 2 instead of like 5.5, I'd look at them, but it could be a bad spot. You're right. I want to take them, but something's telling me don't.
I agree with what Steve said. Like, from a stylistic matchup, Washington State they're annoying
Very
to play
slow.
against.
Yes.
Yeah, they
like
slow it down. They play
tempo.
good defense. Yeah, and Washington want to run. So, like, Washington, you're doing it against Arizona. Like, Arizona, it's just clear. Arizona don't match up well with that defense that Washington State are running. It bothers them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Gabe, to put it in perspective, Washington State's 308 in tempo out of 362 teams.
Crazy.
Arizona's 15th. Washington's 30th. And it's easier to cover a double-digit line when it's a higher-scoring game. It should be a track meet, and Arizona just does it better. They have better players, better athletes. That's not how you beat the better team. The way you beat them is what Washington State's done twice this year, is to ugly it up and slow it down.
Mm-hmm. So this next game I want to talk about, the total is like 177.5. So they're not thinking it's going to be an ugly, slow down one. Let's go to the SEC. Alabama on the road against Kentucky. I know that Kentucky's home court advantage isn't what it once was. In fact, it was the first time ever they lost 3 games in a row at Rupp Arena earlier this year. But with that being stated, man, the game's basically a pick-em here, Steve. What do you think of Alabama and Kentucky?
Yeah, I mean, we might look back in a month or so and be like, boy, late February was a good time to buy Kentucky because they are such a talented team every year, and they always have a young roster. They always start slow, and then maybe they turn it on or they don't. But it looks like they perhaps are starting to turn it on, and you could definitely say the upset win against Auburn on the road might have been the buy sign. So I like Kentucky in this game. I do think the totals have become inflated. Alabama, though, the number 1 efficient offense in the country this year. They're technically the best offensive team in the nation, but they're only 71st on defense. And then you look at Kentucky, their 9th offensive efficiency, 77th defense. And that doesn't sound good, but they were like 104 a week ago. So that's how much they've improved in just a couple games. And it looks like they're headed in the right direction at home.
Guys, you know how I love to bet on overs, man. But I tell you what, as the late, great Dave Malinsky would say, you need a clean ride to get to 178.
Yeah,
like a college basketball game, couple like a 4-minute, like if I was betting the over 100, it's like betting an all-star game, Ken. Like you're like, man, every shot goes up. You're like, man, if that didn't go in, we're in trouble. You'll be looking at the clock all the time.
Yes.
There was another game this year Kentucky played in, might have been against Starks. Maybe it was these two teams. There was one, Steve, it was the same thing. The total was like 170. Dude, they were in the 130s. It was a Kentucky game. This is going to be a battle. Like, I don't think that, like I said, I like betting overs, but I don't see it. I think this is going to be a real battle.
Gonzaga, like, though, 174, 171 was the total. I'm looking, that Florida game was overtime, I believe. 170 went to, 185. So,
wow.
Yeah.
That's why the 170 game against
Florida on the road was 172. So all 3 of them have gone over when I'm seeing the 70 or higher, which goes back to the late, not the late great, but the great Jimmy Vicario would tell you in the elevator game. Highest bet the over, right?
In the elevator game.
In your condo, right? Or your high rise at your
condo elevator. Yeah. Steve's listening. I like that. Good
I
memory,
remember I looked over. I said, hey, what do you think, Jimmy, about this Baylor total?
That's the best.
I wasn't best friends with him randomly. I just run into him randomly sometimes,
games.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, in the elevator.
I got to ask you guys, Gabe, about Duke and Wake Forest. Huge game. Duke beat them 77-69, and that game was only February 12th. So, and now Wake is laying 2.5 in the spot, total 150.5. You guys, what do you think of this one? Do you think the home court with the Demon Deacs? This should be a very, very tight game.
I'm bitter on Wake because a week ago on Saturday I had Virginia. If you told me I had a 3-point home favorite that was going to hold their opponent to 47 points, wouldn't you think they're going to cover? And Virginia won by 2, and they were 1 for 11 from the free throw line. But I do think Wake is a little bit overrated. That's one of the reasons I went against them last week. And, a loss like that actually sometimes sets up some value fading them again. Duke's not a team I'd want to get in front of right now.
No, I was thinking about that too. I like Duke. I've been bringing it up. When I look at a national championship, I kind of only really see 3 teams I think can win. UConn, Houston at the top. I have a hard time buying into Purdue. And but I think there's value with Duke, Steve, at 25-1 because they have the talent. They have some experience on their team. They have blue chip talent. Their coach doesn't have a ton of experience, but he has been around. He's been in titles as an assistant and as a player, etc. I just think this Duke team is dangerous. And if they go on a run, I don't think they're going to be 25-1 for much longer, Steve. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I'm sort of thinking, man, they win this game tomorrow. Like on Monday, they're probably going to be 18-1, 15-1 type deal.
Good point, Gabe. If you like Duke, I think you should put it in before the game. They win, and your future looks a lot better. It's just kind of
because everyone else loses too, Cam. Yes. So they start to look better. It's like, oh, no one's talking about Duke, but Duke are just nice and steady this year. They're just sort of playing. They haven't had highs. They haven't had lows. They're just sort of cruising along, but
you're not going to get a better number. you're not going to get 25. That's the whole thing, Gabe. They're like they're playing a lot better. Like they're a good basketball team. I think like I'm hitting that future like on the break because I believe
those are
Duke
the
is
only
one of the teams.
Those are the only three. Like I said earlier, like I gave Houston, and the Duke is the one long shot. Everyone's always looking for this and that and stuff. Cinderella's never win the tournament, right?
What about Creighton?
No, that's what I'm talking about.
They're not that
When's the
bad.
last
They're
time
like
Creighton won the NCAA tournament?
Yes. Have they ever won a NCAA tournament?
Steve?
Probably not.
You want a little bit of a hack? So I just went back and looked. The last 8 NCAA champions, just looking at the KenPom rankings, you got to be careful because they've played 6 good tournament games. They get inflated, right? But by the end of the season, the last 8 champs all had a better offensive rating than defensive rating. They're almost pretty much always top 25 in both. But the reason I bring that up is because Houston, as I said earlier, is 16-1 offense, defense. Duke, 7th offense, 22nd defense. So that's what you're talking about, Gabe. Offense, and you and I, Gabe, have talked about this. Defense wins championship is a vastly overused adage. Offense wins championships. Almost every one of these teams has been top 10 offensive efficiency.
Yeah, you need to have a better. You want to have a better defense in the championship game than your opponent. But as you stated, if you can't score, you're not going to get there.
So,
yeah, you won't get there. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, boys.
Steve.
Like the Minnesota Wild were down by 2 goals today. They were down by 3 goals, actually, today at one point. And they came back and won. Like teams like, the Edmonton Oilers and the Coyote game went back and forth. The NHL really, you could argue, really is the best sport for in-game betting where you can pull the trigger on both teams.
SportsRage Late Night, only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
The first unanimous number 1 team this season in the AP poll, which is the kiss of death. True. Right now, given what we've seen winning on the road in college basketball, it's a kiss of death to walk in there as a unanimous number 1 team in the country. Everyone says you're awesome. Everyone's telling you how great you are. And you go up against a coach, a coach who has your number for the most part.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
Guess what? Rock fight alert. Rock fight alert. Look at this Missouri-Tennessee score at the under 16. 1-0 Missouri. What is that?
Watched the entire Penguin game on Sunday. Been watching a lot of their games. I feel like we're seeing the end of the empire. There's talk of them maybe trading some big names.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
I think you try to trade Mikal Bridges. I think he's someone that is a 3-and-D guy, can score, and his game is elevated since leaving Phoenix, even though his game has maybe regressed a little bit from last year. As the number 2 option, Mikal Bridges can fetch you, I would say, at least 3 first-round draft picks. If you're not going to contend with Mikal Bridges, do him right, trade him, do a full rebuild.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not 1, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
SportsRage Late
This sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Let's roll. This is Sports Rage. I am Gabriel Morency. We're kicking it. George Kurtz ready to step up and in. We got the Ranger Redhead, Cam Stewart in the house. NHL hockey. We've been all about the basketball so far tonight. NHL hockey, quick update. 1-1 Minnesota and Edmonton. I pulled the trigger on under 5.5 in game. It's 2-1 for the Winnipeg Jets over the Chicago Blackhawks. Let's bring in a man that's no doubt sweating out the Winnipeg Jet game right now. Captain Chalk himself, George Kurtz in the house. What's up, Captain Chalk? How you doing tonight?
Well, if Winnipeg can score another goal here, I'll be doing much better.
Are you sweating out the Jet game?
There's only 3 games. Yes, I'm on Winnipeg. All right.
You have them parlayed with Edmonton.
Oilers?
Let me guess.
Yeah. That sounds like a Winnipeg Oilers parlay.
Gabe can put in my bets for me. I should give Gabe my account, my password. Put in my bets.
If you go on vacation, George, just give me your account, and you don't even worry about it. I'll put them in. I'll stay away from Islander games for you. I'll stay away.
Gabe, I think you'd probably get without any BS. But at 10 bets, I bet you'd get like 8 or 9 every time. I get one like total different. Yeah, you know what George is betting. You know every.
I can know what you're betting too.
Okay, what am I betting? Actually,
you have the same thing. You have the same thing.
I do have.
Winnipeg,
I took the live under.
Parlayed.
I took the live under though in the Edmonton game. I know it's 1-1 right now. It looks pretty good. I have Winnipeg regulation. You're right, Gabe. I do, and I have a Winnipeg Oiler parlay. So yeah, me and Captain Chalk are semi-chalked. But I had the Sabres, but I had the over.
I'm not above you guys. Listen,
yeah,
I bet on Harvard tonight and lost by 20. All right, so I'm not calling anybody out. I'm just stating I felt like tonight there was a parlay buster in the air here tonight, guys. Could be this wild game with the Oilers.
Yeah. We're in a good spot, though, Gabe, tied up. Like, you know what I mean? I got to wait for this Winnipeg game to end, and then me and Captain Chalk got a little bit of leeway if we decide to take a different angle.
This is not really a game I wanted to parlay, by the way. The options were limited here. I went Buffalo, Columbus. I wasn't touching that. So ordinarily I would not parlay Minnesota and Edmonton. But then again, I was thinking about parlaying.
Did you bet the Columbus game, Cam?
I did.
I like how you said, I'm not touching that. I ignored it too, George. I saw it. I was like,
I can't lie, Gabe. Can't lie. I bet the Sabres, but I love the over. I got to tell you, like totals in Sabre games are going under. They're posting. I'm done. Like these totals, like I prefer sides over totals. Like I'm not it's not my thing, man. I'm a side man. I expected goals, none.
Cam likes the potatoes and biscuits, the sides.
yeah. You know what? I love everything, Brad. But yeah, I like sides.
You know.
Yeah.
You're like this. I don't know if it's your fault, Cam, but the Red Lobster's discontinuing their all-you-can-eat shrimp promotion. This is a true story. They lost $30 million.
Well, they're idiots. They don't do it right. You know what they used to do? They used to bring you the full portion.
They started it at 20. They moved it to 25. They moved it to $30, and they're like, listen, we're still losing money. People are just like crushing us on this.
Oh,
they're crushing
put
us.
On the calendar. Me and Lisa put on the calendar. Lobster Fest and Shrimp Fest. We were over.
So Lobster Fest remains. Lobster Fest remains.
I crushed them on Lobster Fest too. But know what it is, Gabe? It's an interesting stat, and I follow this stuff. I wish I could do like a betting show. In Toronto, they narrowed the portions down because they were getting killed with the rent. But in Mississauga, in the suburbs, you still get full portions on the all-you-can-eat stuff. So they got murdered. You're right. Like, I don't know how they make money on that promotion. It's not like it's $59.99. It's like $29. Seafood's not cheap. It's expensive. Very expensive.
Here's Red Lobster lost a whopping $11 million in profits. Most customers took advantage of the promo, which in turn Red Lobster's $11 million loss in the third quarter alone. On this promotion, we didn't earn a lot of money. At $22, we just can't make money. The idea was to bring more traffic. It didn't work out. We lost.
They also screwed up, Morency. They got to load you up on the Cheddar Bay biscuits. Too thin. You got to load them up with bread so they don't hit it as much. Red Lobster's tight, man. They don't know what to do. Like, I should be in the boardroom there telling them how to make money. They got a bad.
See, here it is here. Washington Post talking about closer to 30. So I saw that. I thought of Cam, stuffing a bag in his pockets with shrimp skirts.
Yeah, bring in Ziploc. Yeah, right down my pants like Homer. Yeah. Does this look like a man who had all he can eat?
The lawsuit. That was great.
Yeah, that was great.
It's a great line. He goes, "This is the biggest case of false advertisement since the movie The Never-Ending Story."
Best line ever. Lionel Hutz is the best.
You go
That
to the
is
movie
so
and it ended.
good.
You sue
Great
them after.
writing.
You said it was Never-Ending Story. It ended. Like,
Never-ending story.
This is the biggest case of false advertising since the movie The Never-Ending Story.
That's so funny. What a great joke. That's amazing. Very witty.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
George? You all right, Kurtz?
Yeah, what's going on?
You got the Never-Ending Story.
You had constipation face there for a while. Hey, Morency?
I thought you had a medical emergency for a second, Kurtz. There.
I was worried. A medical alert pending. Uh-oh.
Kurtz is like thinking you're checking the memory banks or something.
Yeah, I'm going through the Rolodex here. You know, now on the end, now Never-Ending Story doesn't come up.
All right, so since Edmonton is playing, but for the most part, like you said, Columbus.
Oh, no.
It's
there you go.
It's a replay? Thanks, Cam. You're killing me.
Is that a goal? What are you doing? Oh, yeah, 20 push-ups.
I think it is a replay. It was Dreisaitl's goal.
See, that's the problem, Gabe. You know what? In my defense, and you've done it before, too.
You reacted.
We don't have the sound on. We don't have the sound on. I just see Draisaitl. I go, yeah. It's like, it's an intermission report.
And I know what intermission. I scored go to intermission. I don't know why I thought they scored.
You got to calm down with the goal announcements. You've been very premature all week, buddy.
You're right. I'm just gonna shut up and let the ticker do the.
You're so happy. I'm thinking, no, I got under 5.5. I just leave it 1-1, man. I'm glad there was no goal. All right, so we do have the NHL actually did this for us, so it was pretty cool. I'm glad that they did. Get some excitement about their playoff bracket. They released, they had a tweet today with their bracket if the playoffs started, and some interesting matchups actually. If we can get this up, and we'll get Kurtz's and Cam's picks series by series. We'll start off in the East. The Boston Bruins would play the Tampa Bay Lightning. Lightning.
Bruins.
I say the Bruins will beat the Lightning kind of easily.
Are struggling. They're a team like you saw Washington. Like, have you seen how many goals they've given up recently, Gabe?
That's a good series, though, Cam. If you think about it, two teams that have been a nemesis for your Leafs that would beat each other up. One of them are
I love it. I hope it goes 7 games and Pasternak comes out in a stretcher and Kucherov leaves. Yeah, get them all out.
Everyone's going to take Boston here, George. It's hard to argue Tampa wins this series.
Tampa's old and slow. They look old and slow. And Vasilevsky does not look like Vasilevsky. It looked like he was turning it around, but last couple of games he's looked terrible. Boston in 6.
I like that.
The Florida Panthers and the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Worst matchup ever.
They played last year, won 7 games.
Ever. Yeah. Well, Florida's pretty good. Like, they look like they're more battle tested. Panthers in 7.
Panthers in 7, I agree. That's what I got.
Yeah. I'm not a Leaf hater at all, but the Panthers will probably beat them.
I'm trying to stay positive, but that's a bad matchup.
It's a bad matchup for them. Like you said, you're playing the one team that plays such like playoff type hockey.
If they could play Detroit, that's a team they own. Like they beat, even though Detroit's playing well, they'd murder Detroit. But
how about this? Old school original 6. Red Wings and Rangers.
Rangers in 5. I'll give Detroit another game. Give me Rangers in 6. But I think the Rangers win it. If they can get if Shesterkin can be Shesterkin, I think the Rangers might come out of the East.
Yeah, they're dangerous. I pick them every year. I haven't picked them this year, but they're dangerous. And then we've got the Canes and the Flyers.
Canes in 5, maybe a sweep.
Yeah,
exactly. The Flyers are a playoff team right now. Come on, they don't even deserve to be there. Yeah, Canes in 4 or 5.
George is an Islander fans, like yeah. That's your spot, George, right there. That's where the Islanders
should be. Islanders. In. Yeah, exactly.
It could be the Islanders, the Caps, the Penguins, the Devils. If the Devils can find a goaltender, they're all there.
No, that's the biggest mismatch right there, Ken. The Flyers have no chance against the Canes.
Flyers suck. Yeah,
they would be 4 or 5. Like it would be fast. There's always upsets in the NHL. Who's the upset? The Leafs against the Panthers.
I'd say the Leafs. I think a bigger upset. Detroit. I'll take Detroit as an upset over the Rangers. That wouldn't just if they're fast. If they get good goaltending. Maybe Shesterkin's not Shesterkin. If we're looking for an upset, it's not going to be Philadelphia. Is Toronto or Panthers really that big an upset? I'm looking for a bigger upset. I got
an upset for you in the West. You guys are going to think I'm on glue, but anyway, we'll see.
I already think.
All right, which one? Would you going to take the LA Kings over the Dallas Stars? It won't be massive.
No.
The Jets
I think
over
Winnipeg.
the Avs?
I think Winnipeg can beat Colorado.
I agree.
Oh,
it's going 7 games, or like I'm telling you, Winnipeg with their goaltending. I know they don't score a lot, but in the playoffs, the way Hellebuck plays, it's going to be hard, man.
They're just not that good. Like, it's just sort of Hellebuck.
They're okay,
it's
though.
not like they're not dominant in any other, like...
They beat Vancouver. Like, they win games.
Yeah, because of Hellebuck.
They're doing it ugly. Yeah, but that's the thing. Hellebuck plays well. They can beat anybody. I don't know. Colorado's wicked, but I think, George, you agree with me?
Colorado hasn't looked like Colorado. I mean, aren't we still waiting for them to hit their stride, too? Where they look like they're just dominating teams? I mean,
home ice would be big in that one. They don't lose at home, the Avs.
They get lucky, though. Like, I watch their games. They get outplayed a lot. Like, they're not that, like, I'm with George. Like, they don't look as sharp as they used to look. They're a beatable hockey team.
I got to take the Avs.
Oh, it makes sense. Yeah, I'm just saying. I think
I
Winnipeg
don't blame anybody. I'm waiting for them to hit their stride where they're playing so well. Oh wow, that's the Avs we know. Is it like it's McKinnon or it's bust for that team? Even McCarr's not having the kind of year that he usually has.
The Stars and the Kings will be a hell of a series. That'll be a battle.
Stars. I don't know, man. I was believing in the Kings, Gabe. I'm just that team.
No,
just watching
Stars and 6. Stars and 6.
Stars and 6. Agreed.
Stars.
Oilers and Knights again. So they played last year.
I don't want
this sounds crazy. I'm like, yeah, the Oilers can beat them. We're all going to take the Oilers.
I don't know if they can. Yeah, I'll take the Oilers and just lose money.
George, you can take the Oilers?
I'm with you, Gabe.
I just think I'm going to put my hand up in a minute. Yeah, I'm taking the damn Oilers.
Oilers.
Like, all right,
yeah.
Let's go.
Take my Peter's
and we're going to be sitting here live on the air watching these games. See, we're like 6'5". We were like effing Skinner. They don't have the goaltending. We knew it. Like,
what's the Family Guy game? Hey, who are you betting on? Who cares? Just take my money. That's like us betting on Edmonton. The Family Guy skit. Yeah.
He walks up to the table. He goes, "I'd like to bet $100, please." He goes, "You'd like to pick a team, sir?" He goes, "No, just keep it."
Just keep it.
He goes, "No, just keep it." He walks away.
That's a great promo.
That's us betting on the Oilers.
He said college football. It was college football. He goes, "I'd like to bet $100 on a college football game," and he puts the $100 on. "Would you like to pick a team, sir?" And Griffin just walks away. He goes, "Nah, just keep it."
I'd like to know how Vegas is going to replace Mark Stone. I think they're going to play the Kucherov game here. They're going to add somebody pretty significant here.
Yeah, they're going to play the game. Yeah. We talked about that last night. You say they're going to play the manipulation game with the salary cap.
The old salary cap manipulation game.
The injury exception.
Yeah, exactly. Tampa Bay perfected it.
What can they do, though? Who can they really get?
Anybody.
Jake Gensel would be big.
That's huge.
They can do the scoring wing. It's got to be a wing.
Word is the Canucks want Gensel. Like, he's been connected to the Canucks, too.
Interesting.
More on the other side with Kurtz and Cam. Like the Minnesota Wild were down by 2 goals today. They were down by 3 goals, actually, today at one point. And they came back and won. Like teams like, the Edmonton Oilers and the Coyote game went back and forth. The NHL really, you could argue, really is the best sport for in-game betting where you can pull the trigger on both teams.
SportsRage Late Night, only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
The first unanimous #1 team this season in the AP poll, which is the kiss of death. True. Right now, given what we've seen winning on the road in college basketball, it's a kiss of death to walk in there as a unanimous #1 team in the country. Everyone says you're awesome. Everyone's telling you how great you are. And you go up against a coach, a coach who has your number for the most part.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
Guess what? Rock fight alert. Rock fight alert. Look at this Missouri-Tennessee score at the under 16. 1-0 Missouri. What is that?
Watched the entire Penguin game on Sunday. Been watching a lot of their games. I feel like we're seeing the end of the empire. There's talk of them maybe trading some big names.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
I think you try to trade Mikal Bridges. I think he's someone that is a 3-and-D guy, can score, and his game is elevated since leaving Phoenix, even though his game has maybe regressed a little bit from last year. At the number 2 option, Mikal Bridges can fetch you, I would say, at least 3 first-round draft picks. If you're not going to contend with Mikal Bridges, do him right, trade him, do a full rebuild.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell, coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not 1, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
SportsRage late
sort of
night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
This is SportsRage. I'm Morency. George Kurtz in the house. Cam Stewart kicking it. What else we got? Rob Vino stepping back up and in. We'll get into some college basketball once again with Rob. We're taking a look at the NHL playoff bracket. Now, things could change, but at the back end, like the way the NHL works, the teams play each other in their same division, essentially. So it's not, you kind of know all the time who you're going to play all the time. It's anticlimactic. Like I said, if you're the Leafs, like you're battling right now just for the reward to play the Panthers, Cam. That's what sucks.
Yeah,
every year it's the same thing. If you're the Leafs, you knew what you need to do. You need to do what the Canucks are doing right now. You need to finish first overall, bro. You need to finish top in the conference so you don't get your division freaking rival. And we were talking about the Oilers, George. Oilers Knights. If we're taking it, what are you going to do? You're going to take the Oilers or the Knights?
If the Knights, I guess right now as it stands, I'll take the Oilers. But if the Knights can add that winger, maybe not Gensel, but somebody like that, I'll take the Knights. I think they're a 4-line team, and I think they'll beat the Oilers up again here. I would take the Knights.
I don't care who they add. Give me the Oilers.
Out of spite.
I was kind of hoping almost like maybe Vancouver will play them down the road. I'd like to see the Canucks and Knights. I'd go to a game. But which leads me to right now, if the Canucks can hang on, they're in the middle of their worst run of the season right now with a 4-game losing streak. I don't think the sky is falling on them, though. They're not playing poorly, although they could be better. Rick Tocchet isn't as crazy as people think he is. He's not losing it all the time, but he did call them out publicly last night and today. He basically said, he goes, I've got 4, 5, 6 guys on this team that haven't showed up since the All-Star break. And he said, they know who they are, and we'll see what happens tomorrow. So, he just threw it out there, and there's no throwing garbage cans or anything like that. Big game. But as it is now, George, they get the St. Louis Blues, bro. Big difference, man, between playing the Blues or the Oilers or the Vegas Golden Knights in the first round of the playoffs. Big difference.
Chicago just scored, George. It's 2-2.
Yeah, they scored. They
Parlay buster. Oh, my God. Kurtz's face.
Parlay buster.